Greetings to all. Myself Vaishnavi, Assistant Professor IT Department from SNS College of Technology. Now we are going to see about the types of virtualizations in cloud computing and its applications. Classification of virtualization techniques. The virtualization techniques are classified based on the interaction between the guest OS and the hardware. Here we have the two main techniques. First one will be the full virtualization. Second one, para virtualization. Full virtualization OS are run without any modification. In para virtualization, it requires the guest OS awareness for the efficiency. Here we have the problem statement that university lab want to need to run a multiple OS simultaneously on the same physical machine for the teaching and experimentations. So some application requires the unmodified legacy operating systems, while other demand the high performances and efficient resource utilizations. So which virtualization solution should be implemented? So the solution will be the implementations level. So here we go with the full virtualization and the para virtualization techniques. We go with the DT based solution. So we have the 5 stages. First one empathize, second one define, third one ideate, fourth one prototype, fifth one testing. In empathize we have the user needs and the pain points. In define stage, here we have to identify the problem and the constraints and the requirements. In third stage, we have to find the solution. By the brainstorming, we find the solution as a full virtualization and a para virtualization. Fourth stage will be the prototype. In prototype, we find that hypervisor, virtual machine, and architectures. Fifth one will be the testing stage. Here we see the performances, compatibility, and the validations. So full virtualization allows the guest operating systems to run without the modifications. The guest OS believes it is running on the real hardware. The hypervisor provides a complete hardware emulations. The guest OS is unaware of the virtualizations. Working of the virtualizations, the hypervisor sites between the hardware and the guest OS. Hardware resources are fully emulated. The privileged instructions are handled by the hypervisor. Guest OS interact with the virtual hardware. Features of the full virtualizations. Here no modification to the guest OS and a strong isolation between the virtual machines, and it supports any operating system. Easy virtual machines migrations and the deployment happens in the full virtualization technique. And then advantages and the disadvantages of the full virtualizations is the advantages will be high compatibility, simple OS deployment, and the strong security isolation. The limitation will be performance overhead, slower than the para virtualization, and increase the hypervisor complexity. Examples and the use cases of the full virtualizations will be the examples are the virtual machineWare and the Oracle VirtualBox and then Microsoft Hyper-V. The use cases will be the cloud IaaS platforms, that is infrastructure as a platforms, testing multiple operating system environments and enterprises data centers. Next technique will be the para virtualization. It requires the modification of the guest OS. The guest OS is aware of the virtualization. So guest OS communicates directly with the hypervisor using the hypercalls. Here it reduces the hardware emulation overhead. Working of the para virtualization. It modifies the guest OS, replaced privileged instructions, and then hypercalls are used instead of the hardware traps. Hypervisor manages the hardware access efficiently. Direct communication improves the performances. Features of the para virtualizations. It modified the guest OS required high performances than the full virtualization. Lower virtualization is overhead, better CPU and the memory efficiency. The advantages and the limitation of the para virtualizations. The advantages will be it improve the performances, efficient resource utilizations, this reduce the overhead. The limitation will be the guest OS modification required, limited OS support, and less flexibility compared to the full virtualizations. Examples will be the Zen, that is para virtualized mode. So the use cases will be the high performance cloud service, research and academic environments, and systems where the OS modifications is possible. So comparison between the full and the full versus the para virtualization, the features guest OS modification. In full virtualization, it is not required, but in para virtualization, it is required. Performance, it will be the moderate in full virtualization. In para virtualization, it will be very high. And the OS awareness, it is unaware in the full virtualization and it is aware in the para virtualizations. Hypervisor role, hardware emulation in the full virtualization and the direct interaction in the para virtualizations. And then flexibility, it will be the high in full virtualization. In para virtualization, it is limited. So we have the assessment questions. The guest OS runs without any modification and believe it is running on the real hardware. That is, here we does not go under the any modification. So it is a full virtualization. If the OS is modified, it is comes under the para virtualizations. Thank you.